Right. So welcome back. So this week we have started this Node.js, and I left this with you people. Read line. Did you people try it out? If you can just give me a chat message that did you people try this one, the read line method, where you can take input from the user, and this question method is used to take input. Usually, maybe you won't be using that much this read line in your coming assignments or maybe coming projects in this course. But anyhow, it's always good to know that you have got a read line module here that you can use to take input from the user. And what do we mean by taking input from the user? Right now we are talking about working with JavaScript in our machine, on our system. So if you want to work something on live data, you have got this read line class or read line module with you. Okay, one thing that I want all of you to remember from our last classes lecture, not week, last classes lecture, Tuesday's lecture, is that this require module. We talked about this require, and do you people remember the example that we have done? We were trying to add people, we were trying to require people from a file, and I told you what is the difference between the require and that one. So let me just open up the last week's lecture code that will give us a good sense of what I'm talking about. Let's have this open up and open the folder that we were in. We were talking about summer and lectures and week 1. Yep. So right now I'm not running it, so I'll just show it. So you remember we have talked about different things. We talked about like again I'm just taking a quick review of the last class, and then I'll have a very short type short lesson today, and then because today is considered as a lab session, so you'll be working on that. So we have talked about dir name, like dir name and file name. That is very helpful when we'll be defining a path, when we'll be defining the directory structure or something. Let me just open that up as well. So we talked about set timeout function. We talked about set interval function. These two functions are very good if you are not using any other asynchronous technique. You can use these functions because these functions are a good help in that situation. But again, as I told you, as you people know about, that there are certain pre-made object modules or methods that we have in JavaScript, in Node.js, that will help us out in our asynchronous programming as well. We won't need to be that much worried about that. So we talked about this set interval and everything. And then we moved to this module.js, if you remember. And we talked about there is a people, we created a people.js where we created the file, we had some data into it. Here is one question. Did you people, again, I think you would have done that. Did you people use this type of JS files to store some data and then bring that data into your, into other file and read that out? Did you people do that in your Web222? Like again, defining the data in one of the JS and then extracting that data from that JS into your file, into your any other file. Yes, so you had one assignment in Web2. Okay, that's very good. So you know the difference between difference over there and what is the difference between here? Can you people tell me what is the difference then? By how do we differentiate this scenario with that scenario, the scenario that you are talking about? If I just make this all uncomment, so what is the difference between this scenario over here and the last scenario that you have talked about? Like again, in your Web222 that you have done, can anyone tell me what is that slight difference that is in between the situation over here using module require and then getting the data, and then we were doing in the Web222 as Ajax or some data that we were just trying to bring into it? Any idea? Okay, if not, just remember that. So basically what we are doing is, again, there you had a web environment, there you had a JavaScript file that you were just using. What we are doing here is we are exporting the file over here from the given file. So you see here, people, I've defined some people array randomly, some ages array randomly, and then I was just printing it for the purpose of this file. And here comes a very important topic that I've told you that this will work you for very good for your assignment as well, that you can always export modules out of it. And that this is also discussed in your, if I am not wrong, in your this topic as well. As I said, did you people try that one? Oh, okay. So you remember that there was module.export used in Web222, but you did not discuss it, right? But now you understand that. So you see that one of the example that I'm showing you right now that we've done, very simple example, where we have just exported something from it. We have just started to we have just received something from it, and then we have worked on that data they received. So now you should know that now we have got this facility of exports that not only export can export the data for you, that also can export the functions for you. You see here this example, there is a var local function is equal to function. There is a var local function has been defined, and var local message is equal to nothing, like again empty message. Module dot exports write message, and we are just exporting a write message, right, which will accept a parameter as a function, and which will set up the local message equal to message. So that would be our write message function. And then the read message function will do what? It will just go console.log, and local message will just go and read out this local message from the file name. This file name, which was very important, we've talked about, that it will tell us which file is basically giving that message to, right? So it will be just giving this type of information to you. So anyhow, we have talked about that. We have talked about different things, and we also talked about the filing a bit, that what is the type of file. It was quite, we have just taken the first example that we can have this require fs file system. In the same way, we have different modules, as I told you that we have different modules. We have this fs, we have this util, helper utilities, we have path. We'll be using every now and then this path also. We have got events for event listening, files for filing, URL for parsing and working on URLs, right? And taking a given URL string like a protocol, hostname, and query string parameters. Query string, one another important feature of our all web applications. So now that's something that I left on you. And then we started talking about this one, which I will talk about shortly about that. And then you people can work on the examples as well, right? So this is npm, as you remember, node package manager. And if you have seen its website, you would have seen that we have got something called npm. So you know that this npm build amazing things. So it gives us a lots of power with Node.js to work on different things. What do you mean by lots of power? We'll see that one of the things that we'll be using is that we talk about Express. So it will tell us that Express, this is fast, unopinionated, like opinionated minimalist web framework. It's a web framework that will allow us to run the web servers. Not only we have something called Express handlebars. We might talk about Express handlebars, or we might talk about the different way in a handlebars. Then we will have just all those facilities or features that it will allow us to use. So npm install just installs everything. We'll do that today. Install Express. You have done that while you were setting up Heroku. So you have installed that. Npm uninstall, then you can install that. Init, this is very important. This creates a new project, package.json for a fresh application. More on this part later. So we'll talk about that one. Npm prune, the prune command will look through your package.json and remove any npm modules that are installed that are not required for your project. More on this. So again, we'll talk about pruning as well. We'll talk about npm list, show a list of all packages installed by application. So one thing to remember, npm init is basically the something that will create our this package.json package.json is, as configuration file that we have, and then we can just work on that. And then we talked about that we can install them globally if you want. So I'll just put some light on package.json, then we talked about. NPM is great. It provides an easy way to download reusable packages or publish your own for other developers to use. However, there are few problems with sharing modules and using our modules. Once you want to work with an application with someone else, for example, how are you going to make sure everything working on your project has all the packages the applications required? So how would you know what application packages are required to run my application, right? How are you going to make sure that everyone has the same version of all packages? Same version. We need to have the same version, because sometimes the cross version implementation or cross version dependencies might be a problem for you. So you need to know that what type of step. So how would you make sure? And lastly, how are you going to handle updating packages and making sure everyone else has on your project updates as well? So how would you do that? So all these questions come. The answer to all these questions is what? That's where package.json files come. So package.json has this responsibility. Is a listing of all packages that your application requires, and also which versions are required. So it provides a simple way for newcomers to your project to get started easily and stay up to date when package gets updated. So package.json, like a configuration file for us, for our system, for our application. And this will make sure that our all application is saying whatever is required is basically installed, and the easy updations and everything is possible. Okay, so this is the documentation. If you want to drill down on that, you can just always go on that, right, and find out. Has all the information you need to as begin building application in Node.js. So there are lots of things. So npm init. So what it does is, you have done that. It tries to create a package into it. And that package, it will just, it will, after you do something, if you do not enter anything, like if you just keep on doing it as an default, so it will just keep on taking that, and it will create a package.json, and that will. So now, interestingly, you can start your own package.json file from scratch, but it's much easier to run npm init in your project folder, answer a few questions, and your initialized package.json will be generated. Once generated, this is important part, you can edit it, and you decide to change the name of the version. For example, once you decide to add packages, simply install the package with npm install. This will save your package version and everything. Here, I'll ask a question. How many of you know about something called, did you people use this, Node.js? Okay, never. Someone else? Maybe someone else has used that? Okay, I'll tell you, it's a very interesting feature, and I'll just talk about that. I'll let you know that how do we use it, and it's a very interesting one. And here we'll be needing that one. So let's talk about. So why did I discuss Node.js? Let me just quickly give you. Let me just quickly give you a teaser introduction for Node.js. A teaser introduction. We are about to start building our Express, like our web server, by using Express.js. We'll install that. So if you install a web server, just a teaser introduction. So yeah. So it's a teaser introduction. So when you install or you start an Express web server, you make some changes in your files. You will need to and you start your server to see the output. Once you are done with that, you will need to and you make some changes in your file. You will need all over to run your server again. Start, stop server, start, stop server. I hope that makes a little sense for you people. And I just, as I said, I'm giving you a teaser introduction. So rather than always changing and updating a document and then stopping a server, starting a server, stopping a server, starting a server, we use Node.js, right? And we'll talk about this more on Node.js, whether it is Node.daemon or Node.js, right? So, yeah, exactly. You can call it hot reload engine. It's basically a reload engine that will significantly save our life. Why? Because starting and stopping a server means that you have to again and again run your file, node app.js, node app.js, node app.js, control C. So it's always annoying. Yes, you're right. So if you want to save yourself, I'll tell you, not today. I might not discuss the Node-man. I'll keep it as a teaser for today. But of course, we'll talk about that. And at one point, I'll give you that, and your life will be easy. And you say that, okay, it's always good to have this Node-man into it. Anyhow, so Npm Install Express. So first of all, we'll be installing Express. So it will go something like that, and we'll be just installing all those applications, and it will ultimately say that no warning for like this etc., and then it will just give you the file names. Now if you look at the package.json file, you can see that it has a new section that has been added to Express dependency. Now let's just not only talk about that. What I do here is, let's create a new folder for week 2, and we will be just working on that so that we can see everything. So now I am in week 2, and I want to open that one. Right, so this is our week 2 folder, and I'm just getting started. I'm not adding any file. First of all, what we need to do. If you want to create a package.json, we'll say npm init. Just go and do that. So it says your package name is week 2. Yes, okay. And version, whatever, just leave it. Entry point index.js. We have not created any file, so it's just automatically taking index.js. We can change that later on. Test command, nothing. Git repository, nothing. Keyboard, nothing. Keywords, nothing. License, nothing. Is okay? Yes, we want it to be in there. Now, if you see that this is the package.json that has been created. Now, the main file it has created, index.js, which we have not created as yet. Right? We have not created any file. Oh, okay. So that let's do one thing, and let me just delete this file. Maybe I don't want this one. Package.json is over. Now I create one file. For example, you can call it server.js. This is just general tendency. If you had a file, and now if you run npm init, you see that it will, of course, automatically pick up that server file for us. So week 2, yes, package name, yes, description, entry point, server.js. Now it says you have a file, so I should make it an entry point. As I said, we can change that entry point. We can change lots of things. So now we have got this package.json, which contains server.js as our main file. And there are lots of information. We'll talk about everything later on. There are scripts. We can run the scripts by ourselves, something like that. There are lots of things. We'll be doing the node daemon as well over here. So now if you see that there is no express or anything, so if I go here and I run npm install express, if you install express in it, so let's install that. Installing for express for us. So there are a couple of things have changed. If you experience, what are those? First of all, it has added a dependencies item over here, and it has added express version 4.17.1 whatever. So this has been added as dependencies. There is something else has changed. If you see here, node modules. So there has been a node modules folder has been added over here. We'll talk about that in a very detailed coming lecture. There's one other file, package lock.json. So this is another file that is created, and its name suggests it's a package.log, a package-log, and we'll talk about that. What is the use of that in its entirety? But right now we are concerned with this package.json, which has also changed a bit, and it has changed in a way that it says that now we have express 4.17.1, right? So now let's come back to our top file. It says that now let's start our week2.js. So they are calling week2.js, and I have created the folder week2.js, and I've called rather server.js for my file. And create a web server in 13 lines of code. Create new WEB223, just look like this. And what I'll do is that I'll just copy all this from here, paste it on my page. And which page? Server.js. Come here in server.js page, install that. I will paste that. I pasted that. I'll talk about this. I'll discuss this code, but first of all, I'm just saving it. I have saved that, right? And as I said, I will be talking about that. What is the purpose of this one? The purpose of this document right now is that I want to run a server. Let's discuss that. I want to run a server, and what type of server I want to create? I want to create an Express server. So I have require express. So I've created a variable require express. So express module that I have installed, and I know this is installed. How do I know that I have got this in dependencies? So I want to work on the require express server, right? And to work on that, I need an app, application or something which will be calling this express, right? And this it's something like, you can say that it's calling that express method that will create the express application. This method will create. This was requiring it, and this is creating our application. So application created. Application for what? We want to create a server for ourselves. So an application has been created. Now comes here, var HTTP port. So there is a variable has been defined, HTTP port, which says process.env.port. Did you people study about the process file over here? Has anyone studied about that process? Because process was one of the file over here. And I asked you people to just have a good look at it, maybe. That process, this process module, this one, this process module, right? So have you, if you have not, no problems. Let's see here. What is happening is that we have this express. When we say this process dot env, so we are talking about this process running. Go to environment like env and find out what port, whatever port is available, just go and take that, right? So this is usually, if you are not sure which port you want your server to run in, I hope you are very much familiar with all the ports and things like that, because you would have studied that port in again 222, and we have got lots of important things over there. So if you see over here, right? So if you see over here, you are saying that go and try to extract a port, or if you don't find, go to 8080. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Process.env.port will go and randomly try to select a port, maybe, or if it is not, again, if 8080 is available, it will just go and start that 8080. What is that? This is the port where you want to run your Express server to. So our Express server will run on this port, right? Okay. Now call this function randomly. Is it an environment from? Yes, this is the environment variable from the OS. You are right. So by randomly, I mean this port means, like, again, whatever port is available. Okay, you haven't seen this port before. Let me tell you something interesting. For that, I will just take you to somewhere somewhere at the back, if you have not seen the port. And anyone else with this port experience? Have you people have this port experience before? What is this port? I'll just take you to the first lecture of 222, just to show you something. Something like, where is that port discussion? Where is that port? Okay, just yes, port number. This is, so in a URL, in a URL, port is something. What is that? If not specified, the port is the default HTTP 80 or 443. Have you people would definitely have heard about. There is a port 80 and there is a port 443. 80 port, when you are doing communication on HTTP, you are doing communication on 80 port 80. When you are doing communication on HTTPS, secure one, you are communicating on 443. And you see here, like, this is very interesting example. That's why I come here, because I remember that there is an example, very good example of that. Okay, let me just take out my main meeting over from here. You see here, since it is the HTTPS, so it's the port is giving colon 443. Now, I can just remove that, or I can just write that again, 443. It means whenever we are accessing, and so it gets removed. It is not here. Why it is not here? Because by default, HTTPS works on 443. So whether I mention it or not, it will be there already. And as I said, if you are talking about a file which is HTTP, www, something like that, Science Direct, for example. So, it's not mentioned, but it will be running on port 80, by the way. Port 80 will be there. So again, why it's not, it's moved to HTTPS, so it would have just taken it over there. But anyhow, so the port typically is, if you talk about port, typically is where your server is running, where your application, where your communication has been happening. You got it? So if you talk about the server over here, you remember you have talked about, you have done this one. Have you people done that? Localhost. So you have worked on that. If you just write down localhost, of course, it's not recognizing it right now. My server is not running. But again, you know that localhost, if you see here something like this, you see localhost colon 8080. It means now I'm talking about a server that is running on 8080 port. Or maybe I'm talking about a server that will be running on this port 5000. It's up to you. And you know the port ranges from, I think it should be mentioned over here. There is a port range. It goes to 65,000, something like that. If it is not given here, it might be somewhere else. You can just find that out. So if you see here that, so as someone was saying, randomly, is it an environment variable from here? Yes, process.environment, it's just bringing up from environment. But you know, random variable, by random I mean just go and pick up a port from somewhere, like, you know, whatever port is available from the environment, from this process, go and pick that up. Is that clear? And we are saying, or just go and start it as 8080. Good. Okay. So now let's move to another function. If you see here, on HTTP start. So this is an interesting one. Call this function after the HTTP server starts listening for request. Whenever our server will start, right? So it will say that, okay, express HTTP server listening on this port. So you see port, we have mentioned this port. So if port is 8080, it will be mentioning this is port 8080. Or maybe it will mention that it is happening on some of the other port, which has been randomly picked, again, from the environment. Got my point? So this is one application, this is one function that we won't be calling, but this function will be automatically called and it will be showing us that. And we have multiple ways of doing this. I'll show you. Now this is very important. I will just take some feedback over here. Have you people done something like this before, like defining a route in an application? Have you people done that, like defining a route in an application? Okay, you have done that. That's good. Everyone rest? No. Why? Because again, Alex, you have some prior experience, so you have done that. If you are new here, as two people have said, so please listen to it very, very, very carefully, because those, like Alex knows, so this is the gist of everything that is going to come to us. What we do is that we have these different methods that we talk about, and that's good that I have opened up this WEB222, because here we'll find those methods as well. You see here. So get is one of the method, you know, that we use in HTTP. It's to retrieve the data at the given URL. Retrieve the data. Post is another method that is used to create a new resource at a given URL based on the data sent along with the request in its body. So just to summary, just remember that whenever you use get method, we are talking about retrieving something from somewhere. And whenever you are using post method, you are talking about posting something, sending something. Now you see here, whenever you have to set up a route to listen on default, whenever you have to set up a route to listen anywhere, I'm just telling why, because I'll let you know what is happening. So let me just, you know, make it a bit simplified. I'll cut few things and then I will show you step by step. I've just intentionally cut that, right? Or rather, let me just close that one as well. App.get. So app.get will be used to define routes. What does that mean? Whenever, if you are defining a default route as like this one, default route, the HTTP localhost, when user goes to HTTP localhost, we are trying to define a local route. If you want to define a local route, what you'll do is you'll place a forward slash. It shows the route path, the local route. Now I'll be talking to those who are here for the first time. I would like them to understand what I'm saying. Whenever someone comes on my server and visits the root application, like he does not give anything at all, just comes to my server, HTTP host, local host. So he would be at that point, he would be at this particular location. He wants to get some information from the local route. Yes or no? People getting that? Those who are new. I need response from you people who said no. Are you getting that? That I'm creating a server. Whenever user comes, okay, whenever user comes to the server and says, I want to access this server. For example, listen, for example, my server is created at HTTP localhost, right? Server comes to this server. Okay, just leave that. I'll say HTTP. For example, I'm creating my own server, Noman, right? So I say whenever someone writes in their web browser, http:// it means they are talking about the default route, default path. You will understand that. How about this one? Is that a default path? Ludmila, you are processing. You understand? It's not a default path. Now someone says, I want to access Noman server, but I typically want to access to about me page or about me route. Do you understand the route over here? Now, I'm talking to everyone now, not only that's, oh, okay, that's good. You understand that. You understand? So it means I'm saying that if I write only http://Noman, I'm talking about the default route, default route. So if you're talking about the default, let me just leave it. Default route. Default route means I am creating this option that what user will be presented to when he or she types http://localhost or http://Noman. What should be presented? Now see here, what should be presented? I say that whenever user come to this folder, this route, the default route, run a function. So callback function I'm passing here. Whenever user hits that one, so run this function. Now, this function is very interesting. This function has two objects, rack and res. I hope you understand that. Request and response. It will have two parameters. Function has two parameters. Request, something sent by the server. Response, something returned by the server, the response. So it always, this function, whenever user will hit my route, the default route, user will be presented, we'll be presenting him a function, and that function will have two parameters. One of the parameter res. Res is the response that I will give you as a server. Rack is the parameter that is coming from the user. Hope that makes sense. Okay, it will make more sense. Now it will accept two parameters, rack and res, request and response. Now comes the body, res.send. Res is what? Response is something that server will give to the user. Please bear in mind, now we have started talking about making our own system as a server, and now my system is acting as a server, like Google or Google server or Hotmail server or Facebook server. So it is giving a response. Whenever user comes to my route, default route, respond them with what? Res.send. Send something to them. What is that? Send hello world. BR is used for line break. Ahref is equal to about. Go to the about. If you want to go to the about page, this is the reference to about page, and this text will be presented to the user when someone visits my page. Does that make sense to those new people? Because I am taking too much time here. Why? Because this is all the baseline for everything. That's very good. That's good. So user will be given this text, and let me just make it more easy for you, just for nothing. I'm just cutting that. Hello. Whenever user comes to my, you understand? Whenever user comes to my local route, you send them hello. That's enough. Make sense? Now, so you should present that. This is a function. This is the first route. Now you can, I hope you can understand. app.get/about. You remember, I'm talking about now another route. And what is that route? For example, if it was my own server, I'm talking about, can you just complete that? About. If someone goes to about, right? If someone clicks on about or goes to about. So if someone says /about, this another route, we are defining another route. Function, run a function rack response. Remember this syntax, function rack response, request and response. res.send h3 about, just send them about text. Okay, as I said, it might be a blurry bit right now, because once we'll run server, then we'll see that. Okay, now set up HTTP server to listen on HTTP port. Now we need to run this app, the app server that we have created. We have given all the features over here, and now we want to run that server. So you'll say app.listen on the port. That port has been accessed over here. Maybe it's a port coming from environment. Maybe it's a port coming at 8080, and run that server and call this function, this callback function type on HTTP start. What is that function? It is over here. Just go and run that function. Okay, I'm right now considering you understand everything, and I'll run this one first of all. And I want you to just please understand few things, and then okay, now I want to run this application. If you want to run it, you will do what? Node server.js, right? Click on that. What do you see here? You see Express HTTP server listening on 8080. Interesting. It means my server is started. Okay, app.listen. App.listen is what? Unless you know what is this listen? You see the function. Listen for connections. A node HTTP server is returned with the application, which is a function as its callback. If you wish to create both HTTP and HTTP server, you may do with the HTTP. Now see here, what is happening? This app.listen, one way or other, will set up the HTTP server. Why? This app is an Express server. So .listen will do what? Go and start listening on this HTTP port. And if you are successfully able to run the server is run up, and you are able to listen to this HTTP port because this HTTP port is available or something, then you run this on HTTP start. And what is this on HTTP start? This is the function over here that is running. If you see console.log, this is logging in console, not doing anything else. But we got it? So in essence, app.listen will practically start running our server. It will start running our server. Okay. So now it says Express HTTP server listening on 8080. I don't believe you. I'll have to just check that. I go there and I say localhost colon 8080. Run that. Okay. Now I'm asking to those new people, what do you see here? If I open up a program, what we are looking at over here? This line. And why we are looking at this line? Can anyone tell me? Can you tell me why we are looking at this line? Why we are getting this output of this line? Hello world, go to the about page, and you see hello world, and then line break, and then go to the about page. There is a link of about page as well. So why I've reached here? Can you just write down you or Armin? Anyone? Prabdeep is not replying anything. Yes, response given after the request. That's very good. Thank you very much. You have come at the right time. And how about we'll do that as well? I can click on that as well, but I'm not clicking it. I'm just giving you a very good sense. This was the default route. Everyone remembers? Default route means this default route, right? This is the default route. Now let's talk about another route. We have defined another route. If I do / and I do about, yes. If I click on that, what do I see here? I hope now you understand the concept. What do you see here? You see this route about. And not only this can be run manually. I've run that manually. I don't want to run it manually. First of all, I'll go to the default route, and this will also take me over there. Click on that, and I'll show you how. I'm going to about. You see, people, you see, we have reached to about. Okay. Now let me show you something. Because you see that what was it is doing? It was taking us to the /about, / about. I am hoping everyone is clear on this concept. I'm expecting everyone to be very clear. And I need some responses again. Why? Because I want you people to just understand the concept. Because here we were calling that if someone clicks on this go to about page, href is equal to /about. And /about is this. So whether you go by a link to this route, or maybe you go directly, because what I did was I was manually going here. This was the page, and I said to you manually go there. You do about. So if you do about, you will reach to the about. So it means we have set up 2 routes over here. And how about this one? I need answer from everyone. If I say contact, what should come back to me? What should be the response of the server? Anyone? What should be the response of the server? Okay. Anyone else? This is not the right answer maybe right now. I'm looking for the right answer. Yes, nothing will happen. Anyone else? Now you see, you say cannot get. Yes, it will say cannot get. Why? Because there is no contact. And now for those who are new, should I copy? Should I copy it and paste it over here? And I say not contact, rather you say, oh, not about, you say contact. And I come here and I say, contact me if you still don't understand. Right? So I've made now I've made a route. So if I have made the route, it means now if I go here and I press contact, okay, so that's the thing that I was telling you. It's not still working. And why it's not working? Alex, I'm not asking you, right? Why it is not accessing this contact now? It should be accessing this contact. You are already very fast. That's very good. Okay. So now you see here, please, for everyone. And you remember, I have just still written that node-mon over here. I have still written that node-mon over here. So if you see that my server was already running, I have done this changings. You remember, I need to stop this server, Control C, and I need to rerun this file, node server.js. Now my application is running, and now let's don't go to contact first. Let's go to the root first. Root, and now there is no link for contact. If I come here and I say contact, I write that. I hope this should be crystal clear to everyone now. I need response from it. Armin, look like you were disconnected because of some reason. Let me know if you want some missing pieces between, because it looks like you were disconnected. You understand, Armin, what we are doing? What I've done? I was talking about the routes, different routes or different routes, that whatever you say. So you see that there was a default route which takes you to the hello world thing. There was an about route which was taking the about. I have created another route over here, contact. So everyone understands that this all logic of this server. Because if you understand that, we are very much on the right path for this week. That's very good. How about the others? We have got some other people as well with us. Right. So what we have done, response.send file, and now we want to just run that one with a 5,000. So all those new people. Yes, thank you very much. Someone has mentioned that. Thank you. I've just started recording. So now if you see localhost : so can you tell me what will come up? What should come up? Like what is required? Maybe I've made a mistake and it does not happen. But if everything goes well, what should come? Anyone can tell me other than all good? Yeah. What should come up if I press enter over here? Let's do that. Oh, this is my first page, the index.html. Not only that, it should successfully take me to where? To the contact. Click on that. I'm getting the contact page. I hope this all making sense to everyone. Now, how did I access that? Now, what I want from you people is, to practice purpose, what you can do, you can create an about.html in the views. You can create a contact.html in the views, and just use those send file option rather than that. And this path.join will do what? Will use this dir name, pick up this directory /views/index.html, and will give us the file, whatever file is over there. This file will be displayed on our page. Is that clear to everyone? Because as I said, I will be just stopping here maybe, and I would like you people to just do practice on these things. Is it clear to everyone how to access the files? Yes, that's good. And now you know that you have got this HTML file as well. Whatever you want to do. Now let me just update it over here. Please update all routes with HTML pages, right? It should be about.html. It should be contact.html, and you should be accessing them by using those files. Like again, so now my message is on my server. Of course, it's not. So again, this annoying thing, you need to stop the server, start the server. Stop the server, start the server. I hope you understand that. because server needs to get restarted. And as I said, I will just leave for today. I'll leave node mon for few people, but I'll just upload. Now, please update all the routes with HTML pages, about.html, contact.html. When I go to about.html, about, so it should open up about.html. When I open contact, so it should open up contact.html rather than showing simple HTML pages. So far, so good. Now I am